Hey.
Hey. I'm not going to do a song and dance routine, and I have no idea how this works. My too smart. I could try. Never mind. I'll just use my hands. Anyway, I normally don't share stuff at things like this, unless it's like a poem or something. I do have a writing degree or something like that. But I started making things with broken glass recently, so as in like a year ago. So I kind of wanted to share a little bit about it, because it's cool to me, and maybe cool to you guys. I really might need both hands. Somebody who knows how to work this? It's probably really simple. Okay. Let's do rock. Yeah. Because I tend to talk with my hands. Yeah, okay, not too much. I'll be doing a circle around the stage. All right. So anyway, this first one I did, I got it done probably last summer. I started it kind of a couple years ago. I just got the glass and was like, hey, I could make something out of this. I had a friend who made stuff out of broken mirrors and duct tape, so I kind of got the idea from her. And she had some kind of spiritual metaphor for it, but it obviously wasn't that important to me. I don't remember what it was. But when I started making this, I really did not know what exactly it was going to look like. I actually accidentally broke the glass. I was meaning to break it at some point, but I was moving. I was packing because my family was actually moving to Colorado, and I knocked it over, and it just so happened that I needed to break it anyway, so that worked. I started putting the pieces together and eventually decided to, sorry if you can't hear me, I'm not used to talking with the microphone. I'm usually loud enough without one. Anyway, I decided to, you might not be able to see it right now, but I decided to put the word beauty on it. You can look at it later, or I can pass it around or something. But I wanted it to be more than that. I was like, my idea kind of was loosely like, okay, beauty can come out of brokenness. Like, the fact that something is broken does not make it beautiful, but what it can be built into afterwards, like from what it was. Even though it was something great, if it broke, it can still be something great. And that's something that God has really taught me in my life, because it's, not to get into a huge long story, but my life is kind of a series of broken glass, in a way that God has continually always like built up and made more beautiful. So I thought about painting flowers on it, but then that idea didn't really fly. I was like, this isn't going to work. I'm not that great of an artist. And, excuse me, so I got the idea to paint it so it kind of looked like blood, which one of my friends said it was really creepy, which it sort of is, but when I tell you why, it's not as creepy. My initial thought was, well, you know, sometimes when you break, you bleed a little bit, and it hurts, but it's still beautiful afterwards. Like, you still come together, but then it was still kind of creepy looking. But then I was thinking about it, and you know, and it's funny how well these two things go together. Remember that for later. I didn't mean to do that. Before Jesus died for everyone, sin was absolutely transparent to God. I mean, they made all these sacrifices, but it could never really cover up for their sin and what they did. It just sort of put them back in connection with God. But when Jesus died, it was a bloody sacrifice, but it was the sacrifice, and it was the most beautiful thing the world has ever seen. And Jesus, in a way, covered up our transparentness with his blood. And so now when God sees us, if you've accepted Jesus, he doesn't see your sin. He doesn't see how, see-through you are. He sees Jesus and his blood and what he did for you, which was the most beautiful thing that could ever happen for a person or the world, really. And so I really didn't mean that meaning when I first created it, but after analyzing it myself, there was a few different ways I could have gone with it, but really, I mean, why would I go anywhere else other than the most beautiful thing in the world? To me, anyway, and hopefully to all of you. So that's the first one. If you guys want to look at it, as long as you're careful with it. Surprisingly, I only cut myself once on it. Don't worry, I was really careful with that one. I have special gloves now. And this one, I actually just finished yesterday because I was really slow about it because I was like still trying to build it in my mind. I had painted the canvas in like December. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do here? And I had actually had this glass. It used to be a water bottle. Actually, people thought I drank moonshine out of it. But, yeah, I went on a bus trip out here, and they were like, oh, you got moonshine in there? You want to share? I'm like, it's water. Seriously, you can try it. But it was awesome because it could go in the dishwasher. It was, like, environmentally friendly. It was awesome. And then it broke. I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do with it, but I thought, oh, great, more broken glass, because I hadn't come across any others since that one. And it's amazing how much broken glass is out there if you're really looking for it. Like, I got some from Laura's house the other day. It was a broken mirror. Anyway, so I had the broken glass and the painted canvas, and I was like, what the poop am I going to do with this? Anyway, excuse my crude language. I thought about breaking the glass more and making it more pieces and making kind of a mosaic, sort of like I did with that one. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought that would be a bad idea. Go back in time a little bit. I worked as a camp counselor for a year, and when we were, this relates, trust me, but when I was working there, we created this kind of way to communicate to each other how good of a day we were having or where we were at and how we could be praying for each other without being super negative in front of the kids or anything like that. And basically, we had the idea of a cup, and it's like, okay, well, my cup is really full today, or my cup is empty today, or my cup has a hole in it today, or my cup is overflowing, which was good. I mean, it was a good way of being able to support each other and become a family. But I don't know if I took it too far personally, but I don't know, like, I kind of kept that mentality with me, like, oh, my cup is like this, like, months afterwards. And shortly after that, actually the following summer, I went to Uganda for 3 months. And it's a very long story with a lot of other things involved, but what relates to this is that I learned that my cup wasn't enough. I went there, for lack of a better way of putting it, without God's blessing. I kind of went on my own. It was like, at the time, I felt really passionate about Africa. I mean, I still really love Africa, and I might even be called there, but at the time, it was really like, I'm the one who was born to save Africa! Not really. Jesus already did that, but I didn't think about that at the time. So I went, and it was one of the hardest, scariest, most challenging things I ever went. Long story short, I had a parasite, and lost like 25, 30 pounds in just under 3 months because I couldn't keep any nourishment down. So in a way, like, I thought I was dying. It was really scary, and I mean, I guess I could have died from it, but I mean, I didn't, so it's all good. I actually, at the point that I was at, I was willing to die in Africa if that's what the reason I was there, if that was God's will. Obviously, that's never God's will, but at the time, that's where my mind was at. Like, oh, I love you so much, God, I'm willing to lay down my life if this is what you want, and blah, blah, blah. I did it's the baby I nanny, by the way. She's not mine, in case anybody was wondering. She's really noisy. Anyway, I always get lost in this part of the story because there's so much that I could tell, and I'm trying not to ramble too much. I did a devotional called A Call to Die, which I really recommend it, but you can ask me about it some other time. It really changed my life, really impacted me. But anyway, so I went there, not really in God's best direction. I could have done something else that probably would have been better for my life. But during that time, because of that, because I realized that I had been wrong, I was able to grow closer to God than I ever had before. But the thing was, I learned something about myself. That at the time, God was not my God. Serving God was my God. And I didn't really love God the way I thought I did. I thought that to love God meant to serve everybody till I bled to death. or, my cup, just keep pouring out on everybody around me, not even sleep, But God really showed me that that's not what he wants, ever. And he also challenged me, okay, Dena, you've been him-hawing a little bit, not in a condemning way, he wasn't condemning me at all, but he's saying, okay, Dena, are you going to be serious about this? We've talked about this. What about this? Are you going to make something in your life or not? And it was just kind of like I think so. And it was a lot of learning, very challenging time for me. But the way it relates back to this is, if you are just pouring out of your own cup and your own strength, you're always gonna come up dry. You're not doing it out of a love for God, you're doing it for what it does for you, and how it makes you feel, and how it makes you look to other people, other Christians even. And it makes you feel like you're doing the right thing. I mean, I really felt like I was doing the right thing, and God didn't condemn me about it. But as you can see, your cup can break. My cup can break. If you fall down, that's it. It just breaks. And it can really hurt people when it does that. It really hurt me when I finally realized how messed up my theology was. And so what I've written on here is just a little bit of, it's kind of a poem. Some of it is a little bit of an extract from Scripture. It starts out, can you still hear me if I put my head down like this?
Yes.
Okay. We, like sheep, have gone astray, each of us to his own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. His cup is the only one that, when it pours out, is just as full as before. It will never break, bend, shatter, or crumble, and his blood never stains. Amazing grace, too sweet you are. And basically, Jesus carried a cross so that we didn't have to. I, serving God just as much as I was, or thought I was putting a cross on myself. So, yeah, and the song Amazing Grace meant a lot to me at that time. I mean, like I said, it's a very long story, just like I'm sure everybody has tons of long stories in here. So, anyway, thanks for letting me share.